Hey all, welcome back. So in this series we will be covering the most basic interview questions that you can be asked in your interviews. So the most basic thing anyone could ask you is find the greatest number in an array. So let's see how to do that, and then we will move it up one level. Okay. So in order to do that, first we will create a function, find the greatest number, and then don't do this. That's not what the interviewer wants to see. So we will start with the index number 0. Okay. And for example, let's consider this array. Okay. Assume we have this. Then how are we going to find the greatest from this array? So what we can do is loop over this and store the first element in any variable. So here I have considered greatest number, and I've stored the index 0th element in it initially, and then we will loop over this array and compare the value of I, which would be changing with the loop, to the greatest element. So if the value, if I is greater than the greatest number, then we will just update the greatest number to I, or number I. Okay, depends on what loop we are using. So that's the most basic logic we can write. So do a dry run for this. So we have 0 here. Let's just write the code, then we will do a dry run. Okay, so for I in numbers, if I is greater than greatest number, then we will just simply assign, yeah, and then we will return the greatest number. Okay, let's do a dry run. If we had the same array we had initially, so yeah, 1 2 3 4 5. So initially we will see 1 here. Okay, I'll just comment this array, and initially it would convert, check, do this condition for I. So it will check if 1 is greater than 1, then no, it is not. Then it will just move on to the next element, 2, and it will see that, yeah, 2 is definitely greater than 1. So it will assign the greatest number as 2. Now the greatest number becomes 2, and then the again for loop will run, and now the value for I is 3, right, and 3 is greater than 2. So greatest number becomes 3, and so on it goes, and in the end you should be able to see the greatest number. So let's just run this, print this. Okay, so you can see that it works. So now let's take it up a notch. So now the interviewer can ask you, find the top 2 greatest number in an array. So how do we do that? So again we will create find top 2 greatest numbers. Okay, and how are we going to do that? Obviously we would have to loop through it. So let's again take this here, and let's just write the loop, and it will take in parameters, obviously. Now let's see what can be done. So for I in numbers, okay, so to do that, assume that you have a number of people and you want to find the top two persons who have the maximum height. How are you going to do that? You can go by person and sort them out, right? So you will go to the first person, and if their age is 1, you will keep them aside. Then go to the second person and keep them aside, right? And when you go to the third person, now you will compare the third person with the other two people you have already separated, right? So you will check if the third person age is actually greater than the person I have already selected. So you will compare them with the two person, and if you find a person uh, whose age is smaller than the person on number 3, then you can just replace them, right? But out of those two person, you also have to find out who is the smallest, and that you have to replace. Okay, so let's uh, use the same logic here. We will create a variable first greatest number and the second greatest number, and we will select the top two element here, and instead of using advanced for loop, here we can use a simple for loop I in range 2 to length of numbers. So since we have already taken the first two elements, we will be starting with the index 2, which is the third element. You should know this if you are watching this, why we are taking 2 here instead of 3. Then okay, so now you have to compare it, the third element, with the other two elements you have. So let's see, if the number I is greater than the first element, okay, so 3 is greater than the first element, which is 1 here currently, and here we have 2. So now you also have to find out of these two which is the smallest, okay, and replace that one. So now we have to find if first greatest number is greater than the second greatest number. If that is the case, then we will replace second greatest number to the number I. Hope this made sense. Otherwise, it's the other way around. You can also write else here. And we have only checked if the number is greater than the first number. We also have to check if it is greater than the second. So elif if numbers I is greater than second number, and now we have to do this check who is the smallest out of these two, then replace that. So if the first number is greater than the second number, then we have to do the same. Like now the second number would be smaller, right? So we can replace second number equal to numbers I, else first number equal to numbers I. Okay, so this code is a little redundant, right? So it looks the same. So we can merge these two actually. So let's see how to do that. So we can move this condition here. We can do a or here and just get rid of this. Oh, in Python we have to write or. Okay. So yeah, so this is the code for finding the top two greatest number. Let's do a dry run for this. Let's move it up here. And instead of this, we will do find top two greatest. And it returned none because we didn't return this number. Silly me. Okay. 5 and 4. Let's try something else. 10, then 0, then 20, 47, and 1. So 47 and 20. Okay, so I think this code works. So that's the code you can show to your interviewer, and there are obviously some more edge cases we can handle here. So if you don't know what edge cases are, consider this. If uh, I were to send only 11 here, this code will run into error. See, because the index 1 doesn't exist currently. So in order to fix that, what we can do, if length is less than 2, just return the same, just return numbers. And we have to run this. Now you can see that it has returned 11, and if I pass 11 and 12, it will return 11 and 12. Easy. See you in the next one. Peace.